She says, let's go to where this all began, which ends up being her old house, the mansion she was raised out. And there's all this old furniture that's covered in sheets. So this place hasn't been touched since her mom died.
Very spooky.
And all of a sudden, the sheets fly up and start flying around in these patterns.
Sheet tornado. They're just swirling around the room.
These sheets are just flying around the room like it's the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
In my notes, I wrote down so many sheets.
Who's controlling these sheets?
I don't know. But we do get our fight scene. Elektra is kind of getting...
Well, she's getting her ass kicked. And the sheets are not helping. This fight is objectively bad. The choreography, the fight choreography is really bad.
I think it was the editing. I think it was the blocking. It just seemed like you couldn't really tell what was happening.
I'll tell you why. It's too many sheets, dude.
Those
the sheets were
goddamn
everywhere.
sheets.
They're covering people up. People are behind the sheets. They're in front of the sheets. The only thing I remember about the fight is the amount of sheets that are flying around. If you haven't seen this movie, we're not exaggerating. We're not fixated on the sheets. There's a lot of sheets.
Ton of sheets.
It's so many sheets.
Hey, what's poppin', Colonels? Denny Noodle. Welcome back. It is Just Play It. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Captain Pop, Captain Crunch, Maestro of the Microwave. I am all those kernels in your bucket, and every one of those popcorns is a piece of me, and I invite you to put me in your mouth. And alongside me is my best friend, my co-host, the corn dog himself, Slick Glizzy, Slick Nicky.
Ooh, that's a new one. I'm essentially a pig in a blanket. What's the difference, James?
Can't tell the difference. They're the same picture.
I just don't have a blanket on me.
Ayo!
Oh.
A little sneak peek of what's coming in this episode. We are doing our one and only Flopbuster of the year. Not to be confused from our 40-40 offender of Leonard Part 6, which not only was awful with the critics, but also awful at the box office. This one is just awful with the critics, and we're going to have to decide if it is truly bad or if we can save it. Another part about this movie is that it's part of the NCU, our not-so-cinematic universe, the non-cinematic universe. Not part of any big, major, modern-day superhero cinematic universe. We're deep diving, we're barrel digging, going through the trash like some raccoons, and we're going down Marvel's Christmas Past this week. And I'm so excited because it was a first watch for me.
It was honestly a first watch. I think it was. I may have seen this once. I didn't remember a single thing if I did. But it's also I guess, sequel. It is connected to a movie that we have reviewed previously on this podcast from the NCU. So,
how many movies do you need to have for it to be a cinematic universe? Is it technically 2, or is it at least 3 or 4 or 5?
I think it has to be 3 because I think you need 2 movies not connected and then to connect them. I think that makes the universe.
I agree with that, which is why this is part of no cinematic universe. Or maybe it is. But before we get into all that and unpack all that cinematic universe mind-bending stuff, Nick, we got to get warmed up. We got to pop them corns. We got to roll them dogs. We got to get ourselves in deep-fried condition. And the only way to do that is with a quiz. And we invite everybody to play along. Nick, it's not anything new. We do our weekly Cinematrix quiz brought to you by vulture.com. It is a grid style quiz. It's a 3x3 panel. We have typically 3 actors on the vertical row and categories or other actors on the horizontal row. We have 9 squares. We have 9 total guesses. If we mess up once, we cannot go perfect. We're always trying to go perfect. And we can only use movies once for our answers. And we're always looking for the rarest answers we can come up with for that top percentage of the day. Our best we've done so far is top 2% of the day. And I'm always going for that sweet single digit number 1, top 1% of the day. Maybe one day we can do it.
I believe in us, James. We're on a perfect streak right now over the last few weeks, and I'd love to keep that going.
This could be number 3 in a row, and let's see if we can get it. Nick, let's open up the quiz here. I'm going to go ahead and read our actors. So we have actor Sarah Jessica Parker, actor Russell Crowe, and actor, Owen Wilson. Wow.
That's quite the spread of characters there.
Wow.
And in the columns for each of those actors is and or ampersand in the title,
Wow.
city or state in the title, and 3+ words in the title.
Wow, that's a lot of titles.
All right, James, where do you want to start?
As is tradition, we like to work actor by actor, knock out the vertical categories, and workshop them, make sure we don't overlap, or we can pocket one for a different category or a different actor. Do you want to start with top left, Sarah Jessica Parker?
I would. So let's start with her and the category of and or ampersand in the title, and I think we all know where we're going with this one.
So obviously for and or ampersand in the title, we have the Sex and the City movies. I think there's 2 of those.
There are.
I don't know if city, does it mean city or state as in those words in the title, or a city or a state in the title? Or city?
I read it as a city or a state in the title.
Well, which way? You mean like an actual city, like San Francisco?
The name of a city. Yeah.
Or
exactly.
Nashville? Okay. Or Sex and the City. City's in the title. I feel like that would count.
It's a loophole.
All right, so what are you thinking for SJP?
I'm thinking for and or ampersand in the title. I think we got to go with Sex and the City 2.
Let's punch it in. Sex and the City 2.
2.
It's a 32%. So that's like right at our average of what we would want to top out at. 30% is our
That's
ceilings.
high. That's high
32.
for us,
I don't
yeah.
think we can really ask for much else. So for city and state in the title, I feel like Sex and the City could also work, unless you were thinking of something else.
I am thinking of something else. Now, this is a movie from the early 90s that my dad loved, and it was played in our house quite a few times. It stars Sarah Jessica Parker, James Caan, and Nicolas Cage. And it's called Honeymoon in Vegas.
Oh, all right. Do you think that's going to be more popular than Sex and the City, or do you think that's going to be a sleeper one?
From 1992, I think it'd be a little more sleepery. Early in her career, it's a great opening scene. Nicolas Cage parachutes down onto the Vegas Strip. I forget why. I don't really remember too much
Because
about
he's
the movie,
Nicolas Cage. There's not really any reason
because
needed.
he is.
Okay, well, let's punch
Yeah, I
that
think
in.
Honeymoon in Vegas is the way to go.
I love it. Let's do it. It's a 35%. So it is a little bit.
Jeez.
It is a little bit well known.
I can never quite get a handle on the audience for these quizzes. Is it older folks? Is it younger kids?
Sometimes I feel like we're in the audience's head. We're in the general public's head, and I feel like sometimes they're in ours.
Good point.
Well, 3+ words in the title. Is this going to be Sex and the City, or do you have another random answer for me?
I mean, there's always failure to launch with Matthew McConaughey.
That's right.
I think that had who's the old Steelers quarterback? Terry Bradshaw in it as well.
I've never
I
seen
believe
it.
was Matthew McConaughey's dad.
I've never seen it. But that's Sarah Jessica Parker. It's not like Kate Hudson or something.
No, I think that's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or something. Failure to launch is definitely Sarah Jessica Parker. There's no doubt about it.
I trust you, buddy. Let's launch on that answer.
Let's do it.
Uno, dos, tres, 14. 14%. Way to go.
Nice job, Bono.
All right, thank you. Let's move down to Russell Crowe. And you want to start with and or and in the title, city, state, 3+ words. What do you got?
Let's go left to right again. Let's go and or and in the title.
Perfect. I have an answer. Do you have one? We can
Let's hear
compare and see what's going to be more rare. I was going to say a recent one he's been in. He played Zeus in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh, that's a great one.
I feel like it might be kind of recent, but what do you got?
He was in Master and Commander, and that's what I got. That's a famous one, so I don't feel great about that being.
It is a very
It's
famous
considered.
one.
It's considered one of the better ones.
Yeah, let's go with Thor: Love and Thunder.
Let's do it.
26%.
26%.
Within our range of what we're comfortable with, so that's all good. For city or state in the title, I'm sure I can think of something.
I have two.
Wouldn't put it past you. What do you got?
One of my favorite movies of all time, 3:10 to Yuma. And then in the late 90s, he was in LA Confidential.
Does LA count?
LA better count as a city.
That's like a nickname for a city.
I mean, we had Honeymoon in Vegas, and it wasn't Las Vegas, so I think there's some wiggle room.
Okay, if this doesn't count, then guess what? We get a do-over.
Sure do. So you want to do LA Confidential or 3:10 to Yuma?
My instinct was LA Confidential,
Hey, let's trust your gut. Let's go with LA Confidential.
Let's do it. Let's punch it in and guess. Oh no. Ooh, it's right, everybody, but it's a 72%. Jeez. Fuck my gut. That is tough.
That's tough.
Damn. Ah, all right. 3+ words in the title could be 310 to Yuma.
We could do 310 to Yuma. The Nice Guys. There's a ton of random ones you forget he's in. He was in the Justice League.
Oh, was he?
He's Superman's dad in that one.
Oh, Mr. Superman?
Yeah, Senor Superman. But I'll go 310 to Yuma. I like
310 or just Justice League? Or the Justice League would do it.
Let's go with 310. Let's go with 310.
All right, let's do it. There we go. Now I'm freaking talking over here. Tres, dos, uno. It's a oneer.
Wow, that's really surprising that that's the 1% answer.
But Honeymoon in Vegas is the 35% answer.
It's hard to tell with these quizzes, man.
Crazy.
All right, let's wrap this up. Let's get to Owen Wilson.
Let's do it.
And in the title.
Wow. Well, obviously there's you, me, and Dupree, which has been an answer on this quiz before.
It has. So is Marley and Me.
Yeah.
Sad one with the dog.
This is a good one. Starsky and Hutch.
Oh, with Ben Stiller. Yeah.
Snoop Dogg, 2004. I had that on DVD. I mean, we have some pretty good answers there, unless we can think of some really, really obscure ones.
I'd say let's go. I like Starsky and Hutch. I think
you think that's a good one?
Dupree is the most obvious answer.
Okay.
And I think Marley and Me is second.
Let's do Starsky and Hutch. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. 28%. People knew about it.
They do.
That always makes me curious of what the other answer would have been.
All right, James. What do we got? Owen Wilson, city or state, and title.
I definitely have one off the top of my head for city. It's Midnight in Paris. With Owen Wilson. What do you got?
I had the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Okay. What do you think?
I don't know. I've been
well, my
confused so far.
My gut says that Midnight in Paris would be more popular, but just a minute ago it screwed us on LA Confidential. So now I defer to you, my friend.
Oh,
this is Corndog gut time. Gut check.
Let's do Midnight in Paris.
All right. It's below 50, everybody. It's a 47. I mean, we're gonna go perfect, which is the W at the end of the day. However, we're not looking super rare on this one, but we are getting these correct.
Yeah, the 310 to Yuma being a 1 is still this whole quiz right now is throwing me off.
It's a little funky. Well, wrap it up. We got 3+ words in the title, times Owen Wilson, many answers. What do we want to go with?
I was thinking one folks might have forgot that he was in would be Meet the Parents.
I wasn't going there first, so I think we could do that. Oh, there is a lot of cameo movies with all those guys that they would just show up in each other's movies.
Yeah, a lot of Ben Stiller movies he'd show up in.
I'm cool with Meet the Parents.
Yeah, it's not like we're protecting a massive score right now. Let's do it.
And you know what? That was a pretty damn good guess because it's 7%.
These things confuse me.
Okay, we are top 12% of players today. 9 for 9. We are on a 3-quiz streak, going perfect. Let's see what the most popular answers were, starting with Sarah Jessica Parker, moving left to right, and or ampersand in the title. Most popular was Sex and the City. For city or state, it was actually LA Story. And Sex and the City 2 was the most popular for 3+ words in the title.
For Russell Crowe, for and or ampersand in the title, it was Master and Commander.
So we made one good call there.
Yeah, for city state, obviously LA Confidential, as that was the 72%. It was obviously the most popular. And then 3+ words in the title was A Beautiful Mind.
Didn't think of 310 to Yuma, though. What's going to make me feel a little bit comfortable and help me sleep tonight is the most popular for Owen Wilson and or ampersand in the title was Marley and Me.
Good.
But now it makes me think, what about you, me, and Dupree? That's the big one. Unfortunately, the most popular for city was Midnight in Paris. Big yikes. and the Royal Tenenbaums clocking in at the most popular for 3+ words in the title. Nick, what do we got for the rarest correct answers for Sarah Jessica Parker?
For and ampersand in the title, we had a movie called And Just Like That, the documentary.
Okay,
I think people cheat.
I've been seeing documentaries pop up on the rarest answers. Apparently, we need to get to know documentaries. Bullshit. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
For city, state in the title, it was All Roads Lead to Rome.
Never heard of it.
3+ words in the title is Life After Tomorrow.
Looks like another documentary. Whatever. Okay. Rarest answers rarest answers for Russell Crowe and or ampersand. We have fathers and daughters. For city or state in the title, we have Spotswood. And 3+ words in the title, we have the Silver Brumby.
All right.
I don't know what a Brumby is.
This last one's going to piss me off, this last row. So for Owen Wilson and or ampersand in the title, we have Mater and the Ghostlight.
That's the other thing. Shorts, they count. Because there was one for Billy Crystal we did a couple weeks ago, and the rarest correct answer was Mike Wazowski and his new car. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Was this a movie that came out in theaters? No, it's a Pixar short. I should have said that. I was thinking about those Mater shorts too, and I don't know why I didn't say it.
For city or state in the title, we have what looks like an animated movie about crayons called The Hero of Color City.
Is this like a VeggieTales knockoff? What the hell? Who made this? China?
James, people cheat. Okay, that's all I know.
This is
people cheat.
When we get to this part in the quiz, this is Nick's catchphrase, that people cheat.
The Hero of Color City? Nobody answers that. Unless you're searching through his IMDb.
Which crayon do you think Owen Wilson is?
Probably the green one.
I was gonna say it kind of looks like the green one, kind of little like. Wow,
he's got a wow. He's kind of got that curve to him. For 3+ words in the title, we have Around the World in 80 Days. Is that the one with Jackie Chan?
I believe so. That answer doesn't piss me off because it's like, okay,
that's believable. The Heroes of Color City.
No, what is that?
Hate it.
All right, Nick. Well, you hate to see that we're not top 2, 5, single-digit % of the day, but you do love to see that we have gone perfect. Let's keep the streak going until the very end of the year, the end of the season.
Let's do it.
Part of this season-long, year-long journey is the movie we watched this week, and we're reviewing right here, right now. It is 2005's Elektra, which is a spin-off sequel of the 2003 Daredevil movie, which we have previously watched and reviewed. And I know you're thinking, why did we watch these two movies? Well, there's this little big ass movie coming out in a couple days now, actually, in 2 days, it's going to be coming out, called Deadpool and Wolverine. And we heard rumblings and bumblings that Jennifer Garner was going to reprise her role as Elektra. It was basically confirmed months ago. And we thought, you know what? Let's get into the Fox Marvel movies of Daredevil and it connecting to Elektra. So that's why those two movies are our NCU movies of the year. And I'm excited to see that movie. I already bought my tickets quite a bit ago. Me and my wife are going Friday opening night. I'm really looking forward to some cameos. This is the most excited I have been to go to the movies. I was stoked for Furiosa, but I am way more excited for Deadpool and Wolverine for very obvious reasons.
Couldn't agree more, especially following someone like Ryan Reynolds and his social media, knowing how long he's been asking for Hugh Jackman to play Wolverine in a Deadpool movie. I like when things actually come to fruition like that. We get teased way too often for fun movies like this.
I love the payoff from I don't think it's not necessarily post credits. It's kind of the epilogue of Deadpool 2, but when he's time traveling and he goes back into X-Men Origins Wolverine and kills the old Ryan Reynolds Deadpool version and shoots him on the ground a bunch of times and looks at Hugh Jackman and says, hey, your old buddy Wade one day is going to ask you to get back on the saddle and you just got to say yes. And I'm just so stoked. It looks good. It looks like the perfect thing that Marvel needs right now to get back on their feet and get the crowd back on their side. And we got Hugh Jackman, 55 years old. That dude is still he's Hugh jacked, man. You kidding me?
Yeah, he's a stud. Always thought so.
Yeah, and he's in a very comic book accurate Wolverine outfit. Yeah, that's going to be great. It's going to be the movie of the year for me. However, the movie of the week is a It's a bit of a flop. This is, like I said, this is a flop busting episode. And what that means is the 5 movie review numbers that we source weekly for comparing what other people are saying from IMDb, the crowd, the critics from Rotten Tomatoes, the crowd, the critics from Metacritic. They got to average out to below a 40 score. And this one, unfortunately, clocking in at a 32.8. It is just below that 40 threshold. Almost had that with Black Moon Rising and almost had that with Daredevil, actually. Daredevil was a 48.2. But this one's very clear. It is a flop.
Which is crazy because you're saying this is a sequel to Daredevil, which was not critically welcome. And you said, hey, we're going round 2 with Elektra.
It's because of how much money it made.
Well, you gotta respect that, I guess.
Yeah, so Daredevil did a lot of numbers for Fox, and they're like, let's run it back. They didn't order a sequel. They ordered a spinoff. So it is our job this week to determine if it truly does deserve to flop or if we're going to bust that flop and say it's actually good. Before we get into the story, Nick, who do we got on our crew? Who's directing? Who's starring? What's our money situation? What's going on with this one?
Yeah, we are directed here by Rob Bowman. So this is a different director from our Daredevil, who was Mark Steven Johnson. So we have switched up our directors here. So he's in the chair.
And he's known for a lot of television episodic directing gigs. He did do the X-Files movie. And yeah, not a lot of other stuff I can really pick up and recognize here. And that's going to be pretty similar with the actors.
Yeah. This movie's going to go ahead and star Jennifer Garner. So she was Elektra in Daredevil. So she's our returning character. She's the common thread in all of this. Alongside her, we have Goran Visnich, I believe we say his name.
Visnich.
And Will Yun Lee. Or Will Yoon Lee.
I did recognize Will Yoon Lee because he always just shows up in, like, as a Yakuza guy. I think I recognized him from Hawaii Five-0. And actually, speaking of Wolverine, he was, I think, the main antagonist in James Mangold's The Wolverine. So, makes me think, is he coming back in Deadpool and Wolverine? Is he going to be this character, or is he going to be a Wolverine character?
Will people even recognize this character?
No, they better. We will, because we're fresh off a watch.
I looked up his IMDb because I thought, he looks familiar. And the top 3 credits he's known for are The Good Doctor, where he plays Dr. Park, and then Rampage, where he plays Agent Park, and then San Andreas, where he plays Dr. Park.
No way.
Yeah.
Typecast.
So he is just Park. That's who he is.
At least that's not racist. Park is a Korean name. So way to go, guys, I guess.
And then our budget for this movie, our estimated budget is $43 million, and our estimated box office worldwide, 56.9. So we did go ahead and make almost $14 million on this one. So not, like you said, not a bomb, but critically flopped.
Didn't do too great domestically. I think it just grossed 24 million.
Oof.
Yeah, you better thank the international audiences for carrying the weight there. Let's dissect this puppy. Nick, I'm going to read you the log line, and then we can jump into plot talk.
Let's do it.
Elektra, the warrior, survives a near-death experience, becomes an assassin for hire, and tries to protect her 2 latest targets, a single father and his young daughter, from a group of supernatural assassins.
A lot of assassins.
Well, that sounds like a whole lot to get into. Let's see if it delivers in plot talk.
Plot talk.
Wow, where'd our usual plot talk guy go? That sounded like a hot chick. What? Okay, all right. Someone pushed him out the booth.
I'm down for change.
Down for chicks, just like this movie.
So our movie opens up with some, would you call them cartoonish or
just animated slides? I don't know, like illustrations.
There you go.
They're not fluid. They're kind of moving, and it's like shadow puppets on the wall. You know, you're just trying to tell a story, give some backstory.
Yeah, and that backstory is setting up our main conflict of the movie. We get introduced to this group called The Hand. They're evil. That's our antagonist for this movie. And Elektra is this, what we call a final weapon in this ancient war. We kind of learn about her legend. The first scene is this very wealthy guy. He has a bunch of bodyguards and hired guns protecting him. What does Elektra do? She just rolls through them all, like 14, 15 dudes. And she eventually gets to the guy who is her target, who's being protected. She hits him up with this little, I died once. And that's our only tie to Daredevil. Our only tie to the Daredevil movie is that she died in that movie, and now she's back.
We do have a flashback as well of her getting kind of revived they're trying to treat her in an ambulance, and she was in her old outfit. But that is really the only connective tissue there.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck did film a deleted scene, but it got cut from the movie for whatever reason. But yeah, it's really just that she's just back from the dead. That's the only connection.
Yeah, so she's this urban legend. She's Elektra. She's a murderer.
And after she murders everybody, we find her cleaning up her DNA from the crime scene. This just reminded me, we are deep in the CSI era. We were really paranoid about leaving DNA at crime scenes, and at this point in time in movies and TV and real life, we thought a single hair would identify us.
I also wonder what her MO is, because she murdered like 4 guys outside of this room. Yeah, she's in this room on her hands and knees with a brush, like a 1800s handmaiden, scrubbing the floors. You're an assassin. If you left DNA for this guy, you're leaving it everywhere.
It just seemed weird. It seemed like it was something that they thought, oh, we got to cover up this plot hole. What if, people are going to really think about the DNA that's left behind? But at this moment, we are introduced to McCabe, who is her agent, her assassin agent. This is Colin Cunningham. And I feel like I recognize this guy, but I don't. Just got one of those faces.
I thought the same thing. I looked him up, got nothing.
Yeah, that was weird. Felt like, I've definitely seen you before, but nope. He's just McCabe.
Got nothing. And he presses her a little bit because she has this inner conflict. So he's paying her. We realize, all right, she's an assassin for hire, just like our log line says. She's a mercenary. And she gets paid for kills, but she goes beyond the job. She has this extra bloodlust. She has this anger inside of her. That kind of is a theme through the movie, but not really.
Seemed like it was a setup for something. And we're thinking, okay, all right, I'll keep that in mind. McCabe is making comments about her body count at this point.
And then we get one of our first of many, 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 many jarring flashbacks. These are some wild flashbacks. And sometimes they're flashbacks. Sometimes they merge with reality. Sometimes they're a dream. Sometimes it's the future. And we get to meet this individual named Stick. We don't know his name's quite Stick yet, but if you've watched any of the Daredevil series on Netflix and soon new Daredevil series on Disney Plus, then you'll know who Stick is. It's pretty obvious.
Or if you read the comics, yeah, he's the mentor of Daredevil, actually. People were upset that he didn't show up in the 2003 Daredevil movie. So this is his time to shine in Elektra. Stick is played by Terrence Stamp, who has been in a bunch of projects, and I'm sure you can recognize him. And he's just one of those guys that's going to be probably like a recurring character in the background as we go along watching movies, Nick. I feel like he's just going to show up randomly in movies.
That's what he does. Made a whole career off of it.
We get this new job from McCabe and says, hey, they're paying a lot of money. You got to go out to this island. You got to rent this house and stake out the place. The client wants you to wait around there for a little bit before he reveals the job to you. And I thought they were in Japan or something for some reason, but they're in like Washington or Oregon.
It looked like a lake that we've seen in Japan.
It looked like
foggy,
very isolated. And I don't know, maybe it was Jennifer Garner's wardrobe or the architecture at some point. I thought, is she in like a Japanese,
like minimalist
dojo house?
Very dojo-like.
It's hella dojo-y, but it's, I think, Pacific Northwest. And she's going back into this rental house, and she thinks there's someone who broke in because she has kind of like spidey sense a little bit. And there's this shadowy figure running around in the background. And turns out it's a little girl. And she throws a box cutter at her and pins her sweater to the wall. And we think, oh, this is just a little teenager. No threat here. Even though Elektra probably deals with this on the daily, trying to murder people, break into her house. And this is Abby, and she's the next door neighbor.
Next door neighbor, her and her dad live in this small little cabin right next to where Elektra's staying. Seems a little convenient, a little weird, right? There's a good looking dad and this mischievous daughter. All right. That's usually not who lives in secluded lake areas, but okay.
All right.
We're followed up by another flashback of what turns out to be her mom getting murdered, and it's a full on demon.
It's a demonic character. Horns.
You'd expect to see in a horror movie.
Unproportional body. It's a cartoonish looking demon, but it is CGI. What was that about? Is this a Daredevil tie-in?
Yeah.
No.
It is not.
Whatever. Hey, let's meet Mark. This is Goran Viznik, the Vigiculus, whatever his name is. Again, I feel like I recognize this guy, but I don't. But he is Alistair Adana from The Boys season 2. I didn't know that by looking at him, just saw it on IMDb. He was the leader of that church that the Deep goes to when he gets kicked out. I think he was a regular on ER. I think he was literally George Clooney's replacement on the show. And they thought, he looks like a Croatian George Clooney. Let's just put him in. So they thought, hey, he's hot. Let's put him in Elektra. He could be the mysterious dad next door.
And mysterious he is. And Abby's trying to play matchmaker with her dad and with Elektra. So she invites Elektra over for dinner with her and her dad without telling her dad. It's a very awkward dinner scene, but we could already tell that Abby and Elektra are getting some protege vibes, right? She's curious. She's asking Elektra all these questions. Elektra's getting sympathetic. Her normally cold demeanor warms up to Abby. She's thinking, okay, there's something brewing. We learned that Abby's mom died in Baltimore from a drunk driver, and now they're in a secluded lake house.
Died in Baltimore, quote unquote.
That's their story, and they are sticking to it.
When they say this, there's a super obvious, awkward exchange between the dad and the daughter of like, stick to the plan, keep the story straight. So we know something shady's going on. This is when my wife said, I know who the target is. It's this dad and daughter.
It's Mark and Abby.
That's exactly who it is. It's revealed that these are actually her targets. She's gotten to know them a little bit, had some breaking and entering shenanigans and an awkward Christmas dinner with these folks. And she's like, all right, well, time to bust out the bow and arrow and murder these guys. Psych. She can't do it because she has something inside of her that's telling her no. And she can't take the shot. This is when we learn that they're just going to send someone else to finish the job since Elektra can't do it. Her compassionate ass.
We have some of our ninjas. So these are our ninja assassins. These are the hand, right? Sent by the hand. Elektra knows something's going to go on. So she heads back to the house to protect them. The ninjas, now this confused me because these Abby and her dad seem like regular folk. And they're doing this whole ninja circling the house, surrounding it, hiding in the shadows. They don't seem like a target that you'd have to pull this high level operation on. But one ninja's on the roof and Elektra runs up with her.
I like that you wrote this down because it was a funny, it looked really awkward and not cool. It wasn't cool looking.
No, not at all. So one guy's on the roof of an overhang.
Like a porch.
Laying down. And Elektra runs up with her knife, jumps up into the ceiling, stabs up through this overhang roof.
Don't undersell her jump style and how it looked like she was really struggling to get height and vertical leap off the ground.
It looked like when
kicking the legs.
Looked like when Lil Bow Wow first dunked in Like Mike.
A little bit, yeah.
Just really bad wire work. just
like kind of like running on air. Like there's a lot of like legs going forward and back. And then it's like a motion at the end when she stabs through the roof. Arm is up through the roof, like almost like a jump man, kind of like Mike. It looked really weird.
And this ninja, highly trained ninja, never heard her running or anything. He's just sitting there, laying there, gets stabbed. And then this is the first time we see that our enemies of the hand just turn into a puff of green smoke.
They poof.
When they die.
They just poof into yellow smoke.
So
it's not even dying. Like he just got stabbed once and that was it. He poofed. He could have survived the stabbing, but I don't think it's like death. I think it's just the second you get cut open, the poof comes out. I don't know.
That's how it appears to be. So Elektra's in the house. She's going to take down these assassins. All of a sudden, Elektra gets shot with a knife gun or something. This ninja has a gun that shoots little knives.
She's got like 15 rounds.
Takes out Elektra, goes into the room where Mark and Abby are, and guns them down as well.
Movie's over.
And then we realize Elektra can see the future. That was a future vision playing out. So now Elektra knows that stabby gun guy's coming and stops him. And he as well explodes into the gas, but our heroes make their getaway.
This had me questioning, is Elektra a clairvoyant in the comics? I don't think she is. Actually, it's what's his face? It's Terrence Stamp narrating the beginning. He's telling us the story of the Hand and the good ninjas, the bad ninjas. They're giving us all the backstory. He does say that Masters of Kimaguri, they call it, although in the comics, Nick, I think you said it was a different faction name for the good ninjas, or maybe in the Daredevil show, you said it was the Chaste.
The Chaste, yeah.
Yeah, so they're the good ninjas. But in this movie, they call them the ninjas who practice Kimagure. And he says Masters of Kimagure can see the future and even bring people back from the dead. So right off the bat, opening instructions, they're just laying it out there that we have two very convenient ways to avoid problems in this movie.
Okay.
Revive Elektra from Daredevil, and she can see into the future to avoid the downfall of Mark and Abby.
I also thought, and not to get into this because we don't have to, but she didn't really master that. She kind of got kicked out of Stick's
Click
camp, right? Stick's Click, his training regiment. Said, yeah, you're too angry. You can't master this. So she left and started murdering people. So I'm not sure if she's a master of this, but apparently she is because she's got the future.
That's actually a little bit of a contradiction, pothole.
I don't think they cared.
Not the first and not the last. Targets are still alive. The Hand is going after these guys, as we learned. So we are going to go back to the big conference room, the big head honcho meeting of the Hand, looking real mafia-like, Yakuza-like. And we get this super sick slow-mo entrance of this eclectic squad of these badasses coming in from the... I don't know what the relation is of Will Young Lee's character. I don't even know his name.
Karigi.
Yeah, Karigi. I don't know if he's like an angsty nephew of this master, but
he reminds me of Frost from Blade. He's trying to gain power within this organization. He's very gung ho and wants to do things the forceful way. But
Master Roshi is Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. And I think people would recognize him from the 90s Mortal Kombat movie. He actually wasn't a Tekken movie as well. However, he famously lives rent-free in my head as Johnny Tsunami.
Oh.
From the Disney Channel original movie. He's the grandpa.
Okay.
Because there's Johnny Kapahala, who's the kid who has to move to Colorado or whatever and become a snowboarder. But Johnny Tsunami is technically the grandpa. And that is Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. And whenever I see this fool show up, I always think of Johnny Tsunami first. Nothing else.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it out in the universe. Hopefully we land on Johnny Tsunami for our Wheel of Disney Channel original movies this year. But I'm not trying to see the future in this one. I'm just trying to put good thoughts out there.
You haven't mastered that yet.
So this eclectic crew is comprised of Karigi, as we said.
He's our leader.
Yeah, and we do have Stone. He's like this huge buff guy. Nick, did you recognize this man?
I did not.
What?
Who is this?
What? Oh, okay. Well, I didn't recognize him in this scene because it was very dark and a lot of shadows. But this is Bob Sapp. He played Swatowski in The Longest Yard.
Yes.
Massive. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. As soon as I saw him in that second scene when there's a fight scene, I said it's Swatowski. I broke it in
my nose. I love little Michael.
Also in this crew, we got Typhoid. She's a lady with some death breath, or whatever she touches, it dies.
She blows a kiss at a guy, and it basically murders him.
We got Tattoo, and he's a tattoo guy. Chris Ackerman. This is actually his first feature film acting job, so way to go. And it's his first acting job ever, and it's one of two features. He did a couple shorts, stopped acting in 2013, moved on with his life.
Good for you, Chris.
And lastly, we have Kinku. I don't know. He can balance a quarter on his hand, and he's mostly a stuntman. Doesn't do a lot of acting. I don't think he has any lines,
I don't
but
think he has a speaking line. Yeah,
I don't think he talks. But we're like, all right, we got a group of rando enhanced humans.
So these are going to be our folks who are hunting down our heroes. But back to our heroes, they realize they need Stick's help. And where does Stick hang out? At a dive bar, playing pool, hustling people for money.
So does he commute from Japan or wherever he is, training his ninjas, to New York to just shoot billiards?
It's exactly what he does, James. Also, I don't know if we mentioned it, Stick is blind, just like Daredevil is. So they have that in common, which is one of the reasons he trained him. We find out that Mark's wife did not die in a drunk driving accident in Baltimore. No, she was killed by the hand. Did we find out why at this point?
Don't look at me.
I'm not sure we ever find out why she was murdered. But this is where we're going to find out the secret. So we're going to find out the secret powers of our bad guy Tattoo. So Tattoo, apparently, I'm going to try to explain as best I can. The tattoos on his body can come to life. So he has all these animal tattoos on his body. They can come to life. And we see this when he's introduced because the bird tattoo on his chest, the eye moves around. So you're thinking, oh, okay, something's weird with his tattoos. But apparently these tattoos can then morph onto a wall in the form of graffiti. So we're not quite sure Tattoo's powers, but he seems pretty powerful.
Basically, he has a bunch of animals tattooed on his body, and they can come out of his body and become real animals. And later on, after this pool hall scene, we see that there's this eagle graffiti on the wall mural in the parking lot, and it was spying on Elektra, Mark, and Abby. And it morphs out of the wall, but then it has to fly back to Tattoo and go back on his chest. So the tattoo's returned. So this way, Tattoo has like drone eyes, can see where people are without being there.
I get where his tattoos can turn into animals, can come out of him. It's the attaching to a concrete wall.
Do they have to go to a 2-dimensional surface? Because they're not tattoos at that point. Then they're paintings, they're drawings, they're illustrations. Don't know the properties of Tattoo, but he seems a little overpowered, actually.
A lot of these folks seem a little overpowered. So we need to go hide somewhere, and the only person that Elektra trusts at this point is our boy McCabe.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to go to McCabe. McCabe's saying they're going to die. The hand's coming after him. May as well cut them loose, let it happen. They're going to die. Elektra's determined to get them to safety. And at McCabe's house, Abby comes out looking like a young Elektra that we've seen in the flashbacks. Elektra actually thinks it's her. She thinks she's seeing things, her young self, but it's Abby. And at this point, we're thinking to ourselves, yeah, straight up, this is a protege of Elektra. That's the way that this relationship's going to go.
It tricked me because I thought it was right. And then I thought, oh, never mind. It is just a surface level answer. But then it kind of ended up being correct. I said, is she becoming Elektra? Is she going to take on the moniker of Elektra? And does Elektra, the mythical, historical female warrior that's going to balance the good and evil, does she have to have brunette bangs? Because this girl gets bangs out of nowhere. She had blonde regular hair, and then she transformed into brunette bangs and looking like a little Jennifer Garner. And she even has a little bit of green tint in her eyes. And that's kind of like that supernatural quality of Elektra that we've seen in these movies. But no, they say it's just a disguise because they said we need to change our appearances and whatnot. So I thought, oh, she's not taking up the mantle of Elektra. She's just emulating her and trying to look like her. But then we find out later it kind of is that way.
That's where we're at. Also, where we're at is Mark and Elektra have sparked up a romance because they just start macking on the back porch.
Macking.
So I'm not quite sure where that came from.
Stress love.
I guess that's what a lot of these movies, I think, come down to. Stress love.
And that pesky eagle that we saw in the parking lot is posted up on a fence outside. McCabe actually takes notice of this and brings out a gun and wants to shoot this goddamn bird because he doesn't trust the bird. He says, this bird's been hanging around my house too much. I don't trust it.
See, now I hate when stuff like this happens because when Elektra shows up to McCabe's, she needs to say we're being chased by some guys, and one dude can control birds. He
But
has
I
a
don't think they
bird.
knew that. Oh wait, or did they?
The bird came out of the wall, and she
I,
seems to be
I think
familiar with
I think
these
that's why they left.
assassins.
Yeah, no, I think that's why they left. I think she was suspicious of the bird that came out of the wall.
Yeah, I'd be suspicious of the wall bird as well. So she didn't get to McCabe's and say, "Hey, yeah, check it out. There's this bird. So if you see a bird, let me know about it." Because McCabe could have shut this down pretty quick, but this bird's been hanging out for he said, apparently all night. This bird's been hanging out, scoping him out.
That was a long way to fly for that bird. Anyway, Bird narcs on those guys, and the assassins show up. This is our squad of multicultural and multi-superpower qualities, and they're going to come in and fuck shit up. McCabe says, hey, there's a trapdoor. It's going to lead you out to the cornfield or the vineyard, whatever it is. I'll hold them off. Karigi comes in, and he reads McCabe's mind of where they went, and then straight up decapitates this guy. And McCabe is dead.
Similar to Elektra, I'm not quite sure Karigi's scope of powers. He's a mind reader.
Super ninja.
He's got super speed. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but they do end up getting chased by Tattoo, and Tattoo has these two wolves that come out of his body, and you thought, oh, the bird comes out and it's a bird. These wolves are going to come out and they'll be wolves. No, they're flying specters that travel at about 100 miles an hour, zooming through the woods. So I'm not quite sure the properties of that one.
Yeah, and we'll see something very similar with snakes later. But the bird is regular. It flies like a regular bird. It doesn't zoom across the screen with a glowing trail behind it, but these wolves do. And we are in this forest setting, so this is where we're going to have our mid-movie showdown with the bad crew. We're going to get like a fight scene, a super sick fight scene, we hope. We'll see if it goes that way. But Stone, Bob Sapp, Swatowski coming in like a big fucking idiot, just throws a big-ass branch at a tree, straight crushes the tree. It's like a sonic boom from his throw of this object on the tree. Tree's probably like 4 feet in diameter. I'd
say more, but yeah, it's a thick boy.
It's a thick boy tree, and he's a thick boy. And
yes,
he threw something at Elektra. She hid behind the tree. This confused me because he hits the tree. It implodes from the bottom, and then it starts timber falling down. And Elektra climbs on top of it and starts running up the tree. Why? She was already behind it. Just leave.
Because it's super sick. That's why.
I think they thought, oh, this will be cool for the trailer. But Nick, what happens to our what happens to Swatowski here? What happens to our big boy?
Elektra had attacked him, and her knives can't penetrate him. She can't hurt him. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm ready for a sick fight scene where Elektra gets resourceful and finds a way to take this basically invincible man down. And no, big boy just runs in the exact line of this falling tree.
Moves underneath the falling tree.
Gets squished and
poofs.
Poofs into the same smoke we've seen everybody smoke.
Stone got outplayed by a tree. Tough look.
Stone goes down.
Easily.
So who do we have left? Okay, we have Tattoo and we have Kinkau. And Kinku.
Kinky quarter, man.
Yeah. Abby and Mark proceed to take these two out.
Yeah, they become a couple badasses out of nowhere. They disarm these fools. Abby straight. I think it's that is it the bracelet?
The necklace, yeah.
Well, Elektra made a comment about one of Abby's bracelets, and she said, oh, that's an ancient bracelet from this country in this 11th century or whatever for female warriors or historical warriors. And she says, oh, I found it on eBay. So I thought it was maybe that. Whatever it is, it's some jewelry, and it unravels. It kind of looks like a Wonder Woman glowing lasso almost with its properties. Mm-hmm. And I believe she throws it over Kinky Quarter's neck and kind of rips him off of her back with it.
Mark throws a knife. Now I'm talking dead center, dead nuts onto Kinkau's chest. And I thought, whoa, these ninjas couldn't be fazed by anything. And random ass regular old Mark decides to huck a knife, murders this guy. But we're not out of the woods yet.
Literally, because Typhoid, Death Breath, is gonna give the dude something nice, and she's gonna go ahead and give a death kiss to Elektra. We're like, oh
Very
yeah,
long, passionate death kiss.
we're like hot girl on girl kiss, but it's for the plot. So we see what you're doing, screenwriters. Elektra is down for the count for right now. Stick shows up. Stick shows up with some good ninjas and saves the situation. I think this is kind of like our halfway point ish, because we go to Stick's training grounds and we get a very expository scene of Stick essentially saying that Abby is a warrior. They call her the treasure. So that intro scene of that there's this female warrior that's going to bring balance to the force between the good and bad factions. A motherless daughter, as they describe it. We're like, okay, we know Elektra's mom is dead, so we thought it's Elektra. But we now know it's Abby because she doesn't have a mom because her mom got killed by the hand. It's actually Abby that's the secret weapon that they're after. So it is the daughter who is actually this person that the hand is after, who they want to adopt into their faction, and they think that's going to be their secret weapon to win this very ancient war.
Abby doesn't need to be trained. She shows up at Stick's place and she is whooping ass on the other students.
Is this a natural gift, or was she training as a child somewhere? They treat it like a chosen one situation, like by chance she is the random one that is super talented at fighting. But I don't think they explain that if she trained or if she's just a natural born murderer with fists of fury. Nick's throwing his arms up. He's got nothing for me. Moving on with this expository explanation. It seems like they're insinuating that Stick had set up this whole thing, set up the assassination job for Elektra. And she says, oh, you set this up. Was this a test? Because that's what she asked when she got kicked out of the Stick clique in the beginning. She said, is this a test that you're telling me to leave? And Stick is like, nope, no test. Just get the hell out of my camp, bitch. And she comes back and says, so it was a test. And Stick kind of gives a cryptic response like, yeah, you could take it how you want. We go back to the Elektra's tent, wherever she's staying in here. I don't know what it is.
It almost looks like the house she was staying at the lake.
Again, which is why I thought it was Japan.
Yeah. I thought, I was like, are we in the same house? Did Stick take over her house and turn it into the training camp? Like, where are we right now? I never know where we are in this movie.
But just like in the beginning, Abby is in her room, snuck in, just poking around. Elektra knows she's in there. She's not caught by surprise. She knows that Abby snuck in, says, you gotta be sneakier than that. And then we kind of get into this playful fight scene, I guess you would call it. I think Abby wants to try Elektra. Elektra's just dodging off Abby's moves. And she bests Abby in this scene.
It reminded me a lot of the playground fight in Daredevil, where they're going back and forth, and it's playful, but also they're taking it seriously. I don't know. It was weird. Didn't like it.
Playground fight scene definitely was way more campy than this one. I couldn't tell if this one was trying to be serious or playful, but at the end of it, she gets kind of bested and then starts crying, and I was like, quit crying, kid. You're the one who started this
Sore
fight.
Losers.
Yeah. Spider time.
Then we see I still don't know what this was about. So we go to the floorboards and we see this large spider crawling around. And then the spider just turns to sludge and goes through the cracks in the floor.
So I think this is another tattoo animal.
I think so too, but was there a payoff to this one?
No, there's a spider on the ground. It sludges. And then I think that it was just to the audience like, oh, Tattoo's watching. They conveniently knows where you are again.
So as Tattoos can just sludge when they want?
Well, is it sludging or is it morphing into the wall? Define sludge.
It turns into sludge. It turns into goop.
So it goops
melts
to the wall.
It just melts into goop.
It goops into the
ground.
floor.
It's not like a picture of a spider appeared on the ground.
What's the benefit of morphing into walls for these tattoo animals? To be hidden in plain sight? Because it was just a spider. It wasn't hiding on the walls as a picture. It was just a spider. So why morph into the wall or the floor at that point?
That's what I'm asking.
Whatever. Moving on.
So through speaking telepathically to each other, which I didn't know could happen, Karigi and Elektra plan to fight to the death. Elektra reaches out to him through the void and says, "Let's finish this."
Almost like Force communication. How Jedis and Sith and whatever, they can like sense each other and talk to each other in their own minds.
Yeah. So she says, "Let's go to where this all began," which ends up being her old house, the mansion she was raised out. And I go, "Oh, Karigi must have murdered her mom." Then now it makes sense. This is where it all began. We keep getting these flashbacks to her mom dying.
They reveal that in the jarring flashbacks as well. The demon turns into a ninja, and then the ninja turns into an unmasked version of Karigi.
So she's going to go. She goes and sort of sets up the area for her to fight in. I thought she was going to do some Batman style, setting some traps, all that good stuff.
We know she can put in a lot of effort and set up doohickeys and practical things because she did it in her New York apartment with those sandbags on ropes on pulleys where she would practice stabbing them. None of that here. They didn't have the budget for that.
Some ninjas do show up, so Karigi's breaking the deal. He's going to have to spin the wheel eventually.
You're telling me he busted the deal?
He busted the deal. He was supposed to come alone, and that he did not. So some ninjas do show up. Elektra sees this because she can see the future, right? She can see where they're going to come in.
She can see the future goes ahead when the movie needs her to see it. Yes.
Yeah. And she turns on the gas stove. And when the ninjas come in, she tosses a match into the kitchen, which explodes the kitchen. I do want to note in this scene, so she's wearing her classic red, sexy Elektra getup. She has a lot of makeup on in this scene, and it's very noticeable. Like, yeah, we're going to do up her outfit, and then we're going to just cake on the makeup. A lot of blush, a lot of eyeliner.
Cake up.
Like, why would you put all this makeup on for the fight?
To look good.
Just have her be normal Elektra. She looks fine.
Because she saw in the future that he wasn't coming alone. He was coming with a squad. She's like, time to doll up and kick ass.
Time to look good. So she goes back to the main
foyer.
Yeah. Say it's a foyer. And there's all this old furniture that's covered in sheets. So this place hasn't been touched since her mom died.
Very spooky.
And all of a sudden the sheets fly up and start flying around in these patterns. And I thought this was another one of her flashbacks / hallucinations / in her head. No, these sheets are just flying around the room.
It's a good old fashioned sheet swirl. But we do get our fight scene. Elektra is kind of getting...
Well, she's getting her ass kicked. And the sheets are not helping.
No, they're making the situation worse. The sheets should have been on her side, like some magic carpets, but they're not.
I want to just throw this out there, James. This fight is objectively bad. It is a bad scene. The choreography, the fight choreography is really bad. The acting is really bad. The effects are really bad. And Jennifer Garner just looks really uncomfortable. I don't know if she's having a tough day or maybe she spent 5 hours up on the stunt wires and she's over it, but you could tell in her face, she just looks done. Even like during the effects, when she's supposed to be twirling her knives, her face is just blank. Like what?
Yeah.
What is happening here?
Not sure if that was supposed to show that she's stoic and a stone cold killer, or if it's just, I don't know, focus, because she was doing most of her stunts. Because this is right in the middle of her Alias run where she has to stay in shape and she does a ton of fight choreography. So she is in a lot of these scenes doing her own stunts, fighting with her own knives with William Lee, and they're both there. It's not a lot of stunt people in the scenes. I gotta say, for the choreography, it definitely had a style. I don't think that you can say anything is quite memorable because people used to, shit on the prequels in Star Wars, but they said, but the lightsaber fights were unreal. I can't really say that about any of the fight scenes in this movie. Nothing really stood out to me. Like for Daredevil, without comparing and contrasting too much, I can remember the bullseye, like even though it was ridiculous, making it rain with broken glass window pieces, or Daredevil's backflip knee punch to Bullseye in the face. The Kingpin fight, I can remember those with some signature moves in there, but it's disappointing because they are doing it for real. They are doing it with, they said it was real knives in the featurette, but I feel like that'd be super irresponsible.
You can't, insurance won't let you.
Yeah. But they said, William Lee does have real katanas and Jennifer Garner is wielding real daggers. And I thought, A, that's unsafe, or B, I don't believe that. So it sucks because they are doing it for real, but I feel like you can make it better if you faked it.
So Elektra's getting her ass kicked by Karigi. Then Abby shows up. Elektra goes down, poof, and now it's Abby versus Karigi. And Karigi, who's been whooping Elektra's ass up and down this foyer, all of a sudden, Abby, with her bracelet, is starting to get some tags on this guy. Like, damn, Abby, apparently you're good. Elektra does get back up and grabs Abby, and they escape the mansion, and they're going to head out to the garden.
Reminded me of the ending of The Shining when they run into the maze and they're trying to outrun the murderous psychopath.
Yeah, they're in a
in like this
maze.
Abandoned mansion. Yeah, it was a little bit big Shining vibes there. But who shows up here, Nick? Who are the psychos?
Oh, we have Tattoo and we have Typhoid. Who?
Oh, yeah.
We said Tattoo is overpowered. Typhoid is way too overpowered. She blows a kiss at somebody and they just seize up and die? That's insane.
Not cool. And that's why they survived, and that's why they're still here at the end.
Needs to be nerfed.
But Tattoo's not going to survive. He is showing up with hundreds of snakes, so I don't know. Maybe you just need one tattoo, and then you could just keep clicking the duplicate button in your soul, and snakes just start flying out. But we got snakes looking like shooting stars shooting through this maze. But that problem's going to get addressed real quick because Elektra's just going to walk up to Tattoo and snap his neck.
That's the end for Tattoo.
So I guess Tattoo needs to be very focused and be sitting still while he's tattooing out of his body. So he was not ready and he died.
He never stood a chance. Elektra just ends him. But now we're going to have Elektra versus Karigi round 2 by the well. So all good fights happen around wells. Karigi, again, is whooping her ass. And then something that happens in these movies, whether it's superhero movies or action movies, but it's a trope. She's laying on the ground, half unconscious. She hears Abby calling out for help as she's dying because Typhoid just blew a kiss and poisoned her. And she has these flashbacks to, all these other moments in her life. And all of a sudden, Karigi rushes her with the same move he's been whooping her ass with. And she just steps to the side and plants a knife in his chest because she wanted to. Because she all of a sudden has the will to beat him. And Karigi, the master ninja, again, can't overstate this enough, whipping her ass this whole movie. At no point did she have the upper hand. He just lets his guard down for 2 seconds, gets a knife through the chest. I don't know. I really wanted Karigi to win. But he doesn't. He gets stabbed in the chest and turns also into a poof.
But doesn't he fall down the well?
I thought he poofed. No, he poofs.
No, I think
he poofs down the well.
I was going to say, maybe he falls down the well and then
the poof comes up out of the well.
Yeah, I want to say it's like a chimney.
Yes. Poofs up the well.
I don't think it's that important. We're not going to remember it anyway. Give it 2 weeks. But pretty anticlimactic.
So are these people real? Because they just poof. Where's the body? Do they poof and then go take over another body?
They don't explain a whole lot of this stuff. They don't explain where powers come from. They don't explain the properties. Because if I see someone poof, then I'm thinking of other movies that have utilized this explanation where they say they were created from some dark magic. Like there's some sort of, they're puppets. They're just pawns in this witchcraft master's plan. But we never get a reveal of a puppet master in the background. So as far as we know, they're just smoke people, poof people.
That's how I see it. Elektra now realizes, okay, I got him. I got one more person to take care of. Typhoid's still alive. She takes her knife, her
Spidey sense,
and she aimbots directly through. What would you say, James?
She's hacking
12 layers of hedges. This thing's flying through
at least, and this and the knife, which is actually called a sai. She does shout it out in the movie. She says, "These are my sais." The sai is just rotating like a spinning wheel through the air, perfectly on the camera as the camera pans through these 12 layers of hedges in the maze and just domes this chick right in the face.
Yeah, it says, "What's in your wallet?" And boom, poof.
It's a side to the face. But I thought, I don't even know if Bullseye can make that shot because Bullseye needs to see his target. Shot. Yeah, ridiculous.
Well, Elektra can see into the future, I guess. So, but Typhoid did get to Abby, so Abby is dead. Psych. Elektra has the healing powers that Stick has as well.
Lol,
So
they said that in the beginning, so you can't get mad at them.
So Abby's alive and everything's good. And now we got to have our wrapping up scene.
So Elektra and Mark, they're going to say, hey, we're an item now. You know, I used to love this guy named Matt Murdock back in Hell's Kitchen, but screw that guy. I'm with you now, Mark. Basic ass Mark.
Abby and Elektra have this moment, you gave me my life, you gave me mine. I don't know. It's all weird. Then Elektra says, but I am going to bounce. I love your dad, and I'm basically your surrogate mom, but I'm leaving. She goes, will we see each other again? And Elektra says, we'll find each other. And I'm thinking, the hand's not going to stop coming for this girl. Aren't you a package now? Don't you have to keep protecting her? She's going to die.
Nah.
If Karigi, his poof smoke, comes back to life, that girl's dead. Anyway, Elektra leaves. She reconciles with Stick, who they've had this whole contentious back and forth relationship, but now she totally understands everything Stick was trying to do, and now she's a great ninja. And she walks off, and that's the movie.
Credits. And that is Elektra,
Finn.
directed by Rob Bowman. And this is the time of the show where we point out nitpicks. Nick, do you have any nitpicks?
Nitpicks.
Like we said, tattoo guy, what's the properties of his tattoos? Can any tattoo he has come to life? So if he got a tattoo, people get portraits of tattoos. If I got a tattoo of Danny DeVito on my leg, can I just manifest Danny DeVito out of my body?
Well, this is kind of going into a talking point I had. It was going to be, if you were tattoo, what tattoos would you have?
Okay, I'll save it. We'll save it.
Okay. All right. We'll get there. Yeah. A lot of unexplained properties. That's definitely a nitpick. Just like Elektra seeing the future. I see you wrote down here. For me,
just all her powers in general, the future, the talking through telekinesis, the healing, the being able to see someone and throw her sai through 12. I don't understand. She seems very, very, very super powered in some points. And then at other points, the sheets really get to her. And so I'm just not sure how it all works together. How about you, bud?
It ties into my nitpick, which is just too much convenience from the jump. It was that explanation in the beginning of, oh, these guys can see in the future and they can revive people back from the dead. And you're thinking, okay, well, you just said that to let us not be mad at you when that happens. But guess what? I'm still mad. It's too convenient. Come on. Elektra's a street level superhero with maybe some supernatural stuff going on, but I think it just kind of went too far with her power set. My last nitpick is the OCD trait. Like we said, this got brought up a couple times in the movie. Not sure what it has to do with the character. It doesn't really have a place in the movie, but they do point out that Abby and Elektra have OCD, but there's no payoff to it.
It's not real OCD. It's just when she gets to that house she's staying at the beginning, she takes out all of her supplies and lays them out nicely on the counter, and she tidies up her house. And maybe even the cleaning DNA might be seen as a little OCD, but then there's a bunch of other parts in the movie where she don't care. She ain't OCD about anything.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's nitpicks. Nick, you got talking points for me. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm going to start with something you mentioned a little bit there, which is the unexplained powers. So I was going to ask you a question, and then I was going to give you my thoughts here. I'm not asking you if this is worse than Daredevil. I'm saying, why is this worse than Daredevil? And from my point of view, I think it's because characters like Daredevil are great because they're grounded in some sort of a reality. Like you said, they're street level, right? Of course, a blind guy's not going out there parkouring around the city, and there's no bullseye guy, and there's none of that. But he doesn't have insane superpowers that we have to explain, or he doesn't have these abilities that we have to put a cap on. He's just a guy, and that makes him really, really cool and relatable to audiences. And then this movie, you have Elektra, who in Daredevil wasn't the chosen one with crazy powers. She was just Elektra. And now you get this movie, and she has all these mystical powers.
Yeah, I think being a sequel is tough because you're following up, one, someone who was supposed to be dead in the previous movie, and then two, like you said, all of a sudden she has this way different power set. As far as why it's not as good as Daredevil, I don't think it really has like a clear story or a character arc or a journey for Elektra. It's really, I mean, the filmmakers say that it's about Elektra learning compassion. but it doesn't really come off that way. It's really just like I'm just watching stuff happen on screen, and I'm not quite sure why I'm here and why I'm witnessing it. It just seems like it's just a weird day in the life of Elektra, and I'm just here to view it. For Daredevil, I think we were commending it for being pretty comic book accurate, and we're pretty familiar with the Daredevil character. I'm not too familiar with Elektra or her comic book storylines or anything like that, but apparently this doesn't really stick with comic book accurate origins and lore. So I think that adds to the problem. And it just seemed like not relatable. I didn't care really. I don't think the movie knows what it wants to do. So how would the audience know what they want it to be if the movie doesn't know what it wants to be? So Daredevil's an interesting character. Like we said in the Daredevil episode, it gets explored way better in the show, obviously. But in the movie, we do get to see that push-pull of the secret identity and the superhero. But this one, it's just Elektra, and she's just out and about. She murders a bunch of people, and then she's like a surrogate mom, and I don't know, we're just hit with some half-assed fight scenes. That's why it's not as good.
I agree.
Well, Nick, can I bring you to my tattoo now?
I'd love to.
Okay, Nick, if you were a tattoo, and apparently if any tattoo can come to life, what would you get tattooed on your body? I'm talking armor up, my dog. Make your body an armory.
So here's a question. Does whatever I bring out of my tattoos, does it have to go back on me?
I would think so.
Say I got a bottle of bourbon tattooed on me. Could I just whip out the bourbon, drink it, and put it back?
Would it go back empty or would it go back full? Does it reset?
That's what I'm saying. I'd probably get a tattoo of my dog. So I'd always have my dog. Dog wouldn't die. Just be a tattoo. Bust it out. Play with my dog. Put my dog back.
I was thinking more like weapons. Like if you were in this movie and
no, I'd see.
Okay, you're going practical route.
The problem is you get powers, and the first thing you want to do is be a hero or a villain.
Well, here's
when
the
in
thing.
reality you should just be a dude living your life with powers.
I don't think you can play with your dog or drink bourbon because you kind of have to be in a meditative state to control the tattoos out of your body. That's how Homeboy got his neck snapped, because he was just not paying attention. He was focused on his soul being with his tattoos elsewhere. At least that's what the movie's telling me.
Well, then I don't know what I would tattoo on myself. Probably just more animals, like some sick animals. The bird's a good one. You just to fly around and do things.
That'd be convenient. Get a look at traffic.
For protection, grizzly bear,
Oh, yeah.
I feel so safe if I had a grizzly bear. I would honestly get a tattoo of myself so I can go out as a surrogate me, and if that me died.
And test out things that you usually couldn't get away with in real life.
Yeah, try to cross the freeway without getting hit. I've always wanted to try that. I think I could do it. Play some real life Frogger, but I'd never try it.
So if your tattoo died out in the world, I assume that it wouldn't go back on your body. And then at that point, do you just get a new tattoo? Do you have to go to a special tattoo artist? Is it the tattoo that's special? Or is it the character of tattoo?
You're asking a lot of questions I don't have the answer
We
to.
could have explored this a lot.
We're talking about tattoos we don't know the property of. We could have. I would watch a movie about tattoos. I'd watch a movie where a guy's tattoos came to life. It didn't have to be a superhero movie. It's a cool concept.
Be a comedy.
What about you, James?
Well, I was thinking like weapons and stuff. So I thought, like a raptor or like some sharks or just a bazooka. But you went the more practical, family-friendly route. And then it got me thinking.
Well, if you did a bazooka, your soul you'd have to be focusing, and your soul would be the bazooka. So the bazooka would just be laying on the ground. You wouldn't be able to use it, right?
No, because the snakes and shit can't fly around like shooting stars. So who's to say the bazooka can't do that? Or just have bazooka ammunition, and then you're just like a missile turret, essentially. You got me thinking practically. I thought maybe I'll just get my car tattooed on it, so I don't have to. If I just want to drive home, just all right, tattoo, come on out. But then I thought about how you kind of have to meditate. So, but you could just sit in the car.
What if it was a self-driving car?
Yeah, and then you're the car.
And you're the car.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice
if you forgot your car. Yeah, I like it. You want to bring up this other one?
Yeah, as a general plot device in other movies, and then specifically this one, there were a lot of jarring flashbacks, whispers, dreams of that. How do you feel about that? I'm okay with a couple in a movie. I feel like this movie had way too many. I feel like 30% of this movie were either flashbacks, dreams, it was the future. I was trying to track it all.
Yeah, flashbacks are known to be pretty cheap amongst screenwriters, kind of like just a lazy way of giving story exposition. Maybe it's hard to show something and they just have to use flashbacks. So they got to be done very well and they got to have a purpose. These ones were, I'd say there were a lot and they were very jarring, but I want to say I don't think they actually did a lot of over explaining. We just kind of got these weird visuals that gave us some loose background of Elektra's life. So I don't think they really were counterproductive in over explaining. If anything, they were a lot more mysterious. And it's tough because you have flashbacks and then you have the seeing into the future sequences. So you're kind of already double dipping into some cheesy tactics here. So yeah, for this one, it was not the best, but not the worst, I'll say.
I hear you. It just, some of them were just a little jarring. I wasn't expecting a flashback, or is this real? Like that demon one. I was like, whoa, what the?
Yeah, that caught me off guard.
Fuck was that?
But, and that's so,
Yeah.
There's things of leaving things up to mystery. And then there's, given maybe some sort of allusion to an explanation, but this movie doesn't explain anything about the dark magic or the demon side or the poofy smoke. So we're kind of just left with a lot of mystery. And there's A, having it be open to interpretation, and then there's B, just not explaining it and just leaving a lot of things open and mysterious. And you're not quite satisfied with not knowing.
No, I'm not.
But Nick, my final talking point here is who's showing up in Deadpool and Wolverine. We know Elektra is. In 2 days, when this movie comes out, who's showing up? Anyone from this movie, you think? You know what I would love to see? I would love to see Stone. I think that'd be pretty hilarious. They got Bob Sapp back in here. I can maybe see Typhoid. And like I said, I think for Will Young Lee, I think we can see him as either Kirigi or his character from the Wolverine, or better yet, both. Because I feel like we're getting multiversal up in here. Who do you think showing up? Who do you want to show up?
I could see Typhoid showing up because she's definitely a Deadpool type of character.
Very X-Men like.
From this movie, or somebody who would show up on the X-Force from, Deadpool 2.
Mm-hmm.
But from this movie, I really think it's just Elektra. There's just not that many memorable characters.
You don't want Tattoo to show up?
I'd love if Tattoo showed up. He got his neck snapped, but I'd be down for Tattoo to show up. I'd be down for Kirigi. He was a badass. He might have been my favorite character.
You think we're going to get Jon Favreau, Foggy Nelson?
So I was going to mention that outside of this movie, I do think we'll get the Ben Affleck Daredevil. I'm not sure if that's been confirmed yet.
I don't know, but I'm hoping.
I'd be surprised if he wasn't thrown in there.
Maybe get a Chris Evans Human Torch as well.
Oh, I think there's going to be fun callbacks to these NCU type of movies that we've watched, either whether it's Hulk or Daredevil, before Marvel got into this universe and all those forgotten properties. I think we're going to see quite a few of them.
Time will only tell, and we'll be able to tell in a couple days in the movie theaters, my friend.
I can't wait.
All right, Nick, let's move on over to our mini pops. These are our awards for Elektra. We're going to start out here with the best weapon. What do you got, Nick?
So I'm stuck between... I think tattoos deserves a shout out here. Is his body a weapon? Do I have to choose a specific tattoo? But those Spectre Wolves were pretty, even though we didn't see him do any damage, pretty legit. And then Typhoid's Death Kiss seems pretty damn overpowered. Although we didn't really see it have a kill count. Everyone she Death Kiss got saved.
So is it really that lethal?
Magic.
Which is why I'm nominating Elektra's size, because she does put down both Kirigi and Typhoid with those size.
Or is it the tree that killed Stone? I don't know.
It's the falling tree. Well, I'll tell you this. The tree has one kill, the size have multiple.
Yeah, I think for just the iconic nature of them, I'd say Elektra's size.
It's going to be the size, even though the other powers definitely just got underutilized and would have been way more lethal. Nick, you got to choose your fighter now. Who are you going with?
Oh, Kirigi. He was hands down the best fighter in this movie. I know Elektra killed a lot of people, but I have a feeling Kirigi did as well. And minus the sheer will to beat him, Elektra was getting absolutely clowned every time she stepped up to him. So I'm in the Kirigi camp.
Kariki Camp over there. However, I feel like I got to go with Elektra. It's her movie. She does do the most murdering in the movie. She murders about 15 people
That we see.
in the beginning. Yeah, that we see. And that's a major point when we do these because we always say, oh, but we didn't see it. The problem here with Kariki is that you say he could have killed a bunch of people, but we didn't see him actually really kill. Well, he killed McCabe, but that was it. He cut off
Elektra's mom.
He killed Elektra's mom in a flashback, and he decapitated a guy with no powers. However, Elektra murdered 15 hitmen in the beginning, killed the big boss man in the beginning, did that sick, like Mike, roof stab on that ninja, killed Tattoo, snapping his neck. Stone killed himself, as we discussed, threw a sick headshot on Typhoid, and did end up ending Karigi's life. So, Nick, I mean, you don't have to like it, but technically Elektra was the best fighter of this movie.
We could settle on Elektra, but we all know Karigi was whooping her ass.
Yeah.
So if that's your best fighter and Karigi clowned her all movie, minus one random
But he got poofed.
move at the end.
Nevertheless, he got poofed.
Question was, did Elektra kill those dudes or did they just poof?
Oh, she killed him.
I poofed them.
Well, regardless, she still killed those hitmen in the beginning. So real people, fake people. I think she did the most murdering.
I'm in Camp Karigi. Fight me.
Nick, moving on. Who's our most valuable character of the movie? Looks like we landed in the same camp.
Yeah, it's McCabe.
That's the McCabe camp.
McCabe. Yeah. I mean, you're talking, he had a small role in this movie, but when push came to shove, he died for Elektra. He was selfless, and for being a handler of an assassin, he really seemed like the only person with a true moral compass in this movie.
Also the best sense of humor. I felt like he had the funniest quips in the movie as well. So even though he didn't get a lot of on-screen time, I think Colin Cunningham did a really good job with this role and kind of took it as a tongue-in-cheek role. I think he was probably the most engaging and funnest character, I think. Elektra is pretty stone cold and monotone in this movie. Mark is just a basic guy. Abby is just a kind of an annoying kid. And, Stick could be up there, but I think I'm going to go with McCabe on this one.
All right, easy McCabe.
Nick.
Easy McCabe. All right, James.
Any standout pieces of shit? Who's the worst character? Who did some down and dirty stuff here?
There's quite a few folks, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with Tattoo here.
What?
I think Tattoo's a little creepy.
What?
I think
Tattoo?
What do you mean, what? Tattoo. Absolutely. He's creeping on people, and what really sealed it for me is when they're at McCabe's house, and that bird is sitting outside of Abby's room, and McCabe comes in and says, he's been out there since last night. This dude's watching this girl sleep all night. It's creepy. I don't like it.
We don't know
Fuck
that.
off, Tattoo.
We don't know that.
We don't not know that. He's sitting there to watch this girl.
Okay.
That's his whole job is to watch this girl. And he's sitting outside of her window as a
I'll give you
bird.
this.
It's creepy.
I'll give you this. He did spawn the sludge spider in Jennifer Garner's room. So, a little bit of a perv cam there.
He's creeping. I don't like the creeping.
I was going to go with an obvious one. I was going to go with Karigi because he's just, he's like you said, he's kind of like a Frost character from Blade. He's just kind of defying authority of his elders and demanding that they do things his way, trying to obtain this girl so that she could fight on his side and they can take over the ancient war and blah, blah, blah. Pretty basic, big piece of shit moves here. With those two, do we have a strong case for one of them to move on for the biggest piece of shit bracket?
I'm not going to lie. They both seem like first round exits to me. So it's potato.
Well, in that case, let's just throw Tattoo in there.
That's what I'm saying. He's creepy.
Let's put creepy Tattoo up in the bracket.
I feel like we're blinded because we like the idea of his powers. But even the way he looked, he was a creepy looking dude. You could tell he was.
Something wasn't right.
Yeah, something wrong with
He
him.
looked greasy.
He looked greasy. And then the sludge spider. What was it? What's up with that?
He's a creep. I think he's a sex offender. Okay, moving on. Nick, what was the worst scene of this movie?
Brought it up earlier. It's the beginning of that final fight in the mansion between Elektra and Karigi. The sheets are everywhere. The choreography is bad. The actors look pretty uninterested in it. There's just no heart to it. You mentioned it. It's not very memorable at all. And for your big final fight scene in an action comic book movie to not be memorable says a lot.
Yeah, I was going to go with the fight with Abby in her tent at Styx camp because it just seemed kind of
It's
weird.
bad.
Like almost at the end of it, it seemed like a forced sympathy, Elektra and Abby, because Abby's like this little shit kid that's like all cocky and says, "Hey, fight me, fight me, fight me." And then they fight, and then it seems like it's supposed to be playful. And then it ends and she's crying. And then Elektra kind of turns into that surrogate mom. It just seemed like it was a little bit of forced character development for Elektra because, again, the filmmakers say, quote unquote, it's about Elektra becoming a stone cold killer into someone with compassion. But I feel
I
like
didn't
just
see the compassion. Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't really get communicated. It doesn't get translated to audiences. So that seemed like that was a tactic to deliver that message. And I think they kind of failed on the message and the story. And that scene was supposed to do it. And it just didn't do it for me.
Me neither.
But maybe something else did it for me because we do have our award for best scene. Nick, I think we were both struggling. And I think we actually both picked the same scene.
It's the opening scene. I think this is the best version of Elektra. She's taken out all the hired guns. She's sneaking up on somebody. She's being that true assassin. They mentioned this thing at the beginning where before she kills you, she'll whisper in your ear. And she only does it once. It's that first scene. It's not an MO of hers, anywhere else in the movie.
She didn't whisper when she Michael Jordan that guy on the roof.
She didn't whisper in Tattoo's ear before she snapped his neck.
Like you said,
So-
she didn't go, "What's in your wallet?"
So I think it's the first scene, which I think is...
I agree.
It was disappointing for two reasons. One, you never want your first scene to be your best scene,
AKA Cimarron.
aka Cimarron. And number two, it really got me hopeful because I'm thinking to myself after that first scene, this doesn't look like a 30% movie. This looks a little... Maybe it was getting the Daredevil treatment, right? It was getting unfairly judged because that first scene was fairly good.
Yeah, I
So-
remember people didn't like the bar fight scene in Daredevil, and we didn't have a problem with it. So I have the same feelings. I thought, oh, this is a cool opening. They're hitting you with what to expect in this movie. And you're thinking, all right, cool. Sneaky ninja, Jennifer Garner in this very sexualized outfit, whooping ass. Let's go. But then we don't really get the rest of that in the movie. So it was quite a disappointment. But I do think the opening scene is establishing the legend of Elektra very well. And then unfortunately, it's all downhill from there.
Yikes. All right, James, before we get into our final review, what do you say you hit me with your sarcastic selling point?
Revive Jennifer Garner's Elektra, put her in a red Victoria's Secret outfit, and make it quick and make it bland.
Nice. I said comic book Kill Bill.
Final review. Fight.
All right, Nick, let's see what the other guys are saying in our final review. We're going to start out with Rotten Tomatoes. The critics, 11% of the critics thought that this was pretty decent, which is not a lot.
It most definitely is not. But the people were a little more generous. The people had it at 29%.
And you know what? Spoilers. It's a gradual ascension here. It looks like Metacritic is going to give it a 34, aka a 3.4. And I just want to read you the worst review that Metacritic has on their website. This is from Austin Chronicle. It simply says, "Not stupid enough to qualify as good, dumb fun."
That's pretty good. The people on Metacritic, like you said, gradual ascension, 4.3. So we went from 11 to 29 to 3.4 to 4.3.
You think IMDb can top it?
Let's find out. And now our side-slashing, tree-bashing, memory-flashing, death-breath, birds and pervs score from IMDb, a 4.7.
Oh my God. Did we just see into each other's futures there? Because we just said the same exact thing. How do we do that every week?
We're that damn good.
We're that damn good at our jobs because we're going to tell you what we think of this movie, give our final thoughts, our laughable log lines, and our popcorn points. Nick, it's my turn to go first.
All right.
Elektra is back from the dead via some magic ninjas and must protect a sassy child from more magic ninjas. Now, Nick, the question at the beginning was, did this movie deserve to flop by getting under a 40% average score? Unfortunately, from Captain Pop, the answer is yes, because my popcorn points are a 3.3.
Ooh.
Again, don't want to... When a movie is... This movie wasn't like atrociously offensive to me, but I just felt like it was super boring. I didn't really have a whole lot of reaction to it. I wasn't ever really invested. I knew going in, I had a low bar. I had low expectations. And people said this is a horrible movie. So I'm thinking, okay, is this going to offend me like movies we've seen in the past, like Battlefield Earth or Leonard Part 6 or even Hulk? With those as my barometer, I was almost thinking mids, fours, fives, but I think I just got to throw it down in the 3.3s. And it's going to mainly be because of not only the experience of this movie, but the treatment of this movie. It just, it seemed like this movie was very rushed from what I found out and the very limited information out there. The then Marvel Studios chief executive, Avi Arad, he told investors at a conference in March 2005, this movie came out in January. He said they made a mistake rushing this film to theaters, saying that they're never going to do that again. And January is a weird date to drop a movie. This seems like it should be a summer blockbuster movie. And for whatever reason, they're rushing to get this out. I don't know if it's because of the schedules. I know Jennifer Garner was on her Alias hiatus. I think What's His Nuts, Mark Miller, Goran Visnich was on a hiatus from ER. So there's a lot of logistical stuff in the background, and they're trying to just like rush this movie out. The director said he really wanted to do a lot more with it. He wanted to have Daredevil kind of play a role in it. I think it's such a you got to give it something because it is so different from Daredevil, but I think it's too much of a departure from Daredevil that there's not a lot of connectivity to the movie to even call it a sequel. I think just it's a totally different experience and not necessarily in a good way. The lack of care from the filmmakers really shines in this movie because Daredevil, I think, was treated very well. They were trying to be accurate to the comic book, and I felt like people really were trying with that movie. Whereas this one, it just seemed like they said, "Oh, Daredevil made us money. Let's pump out a spinoff." And Jennifer Garner is hot, and people love her. And I will say, they did do a comic book accurate outfit, which was cool, but that's really the only thing it had going for it. It's like, I don't think I'm going to ever really want to watch this again. I'm not really impressed with any of the fight scenes. Acting's nothing really to remember. And like I said, I don't really feel like there's a clear story or theme or character development, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to like this movie. I wanted to get like a justification I was trying to find some reason to like this movie, just like going into Daredevil. I was like, give me something. And Daredevil gave me something, but unfortunately, 2005's Elektra does not.
Well said, buddy. My laughable log line is, that chick you thought was dead from Daredevil is back with no connecting storylines. I gave this a 2.8. A 2.8 from me. So I'm pretty much in line with the people from Rotten Tomatoes, and I did use some of my previous scores to inform this. So this is a tick above Stealth. It's above some of these other really bad movies that we thought were just done so poorly. This is really just, I've said this phrase before for some movies, it's a lot of empty calories in a movie that didn't need to be empty calories. You have the source material to follow. You have a cool story. I think it would have really helped if you could have got Ben Affleck to do something. I know you said he had a deleted scene, but to be in some way, shape, or form involved, even in flashbacks. I understand Ben Affleck's a hard guy to get, especially around 2005. This is just after post Gigli, so maybe he was toxic. Yep. I don't know.
Who knows?
But if you can't get it, like you said, if you can't do it right, don't do it. If you have to rush it, if you can't get the actors, if you can't get the story right, if you can't connect it all together, maybe they thought strike while the iron's hot, but they definitely did not strike. They just kind of fizzled out. I think this movie would have been great if maybe it was the third movie. If you had a Daredevil, you had a second Daredevil with Elektra, where you could explore some of these supernatural things, but to jump in a world from Daredevil straight to this supernatural world with Elektra, like you said, it's such a departure from the character where we first saw her that it's hard to even think of these two movies as connected. I don't even think of them as connected because Daredevil doesn't live in this world and neither did Elektra, and now she does. So I will say, and this is not about this movie, good on Marvel for rectifying this and both of the characters and their backstories and even the supernatural bit to it with the reboot of Daredevil. They did it right. Unfortunately, this movie did not. So it's a 2.8 from me.
And that's going to have it average out in the low threes from Just Play It, which translates to a bag of kernels. So wouldn't that suck? You're expecting a whole bag of popcorn, except you're handed a bunch of unpopped kernels, which is unfortunate. You have to just put those in your mouth and chew it.
That's what this movie feels like.
That was Elektra. And, I was looking forward to this movie and watching it because I've never seen it. I knew it didn't get great reviews. So I was hoping it was going to give me something to laugh at and give me some sort of so bad it's good enjoyment. However, falls pretty damn flat, pretty bland. I wanted to like it. I was trying to find a reason to like it. I don't think either of us found a reason to really like it or think it's that memorable, but that's that. And that's how these things go sometimes, which is okay. We want to thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Just Play It Podcast. Please follow us on X, aka Twitter, at Just Play It Pod. And you got to join us next time because we're going to be watching some sort of low budget Australian movie.
Oi!
Give me some.
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
It's going to be radical.
Heading gone. And remember, if you die on a rooftop in New York, don't worry. You might get revived from some sick ninjas and be able to become a That's So Raven. And they might just say, That's so Elektra.
These ninjas couldn't be phased by anything, and random ass regular old Mark,
Basic ass Mark,
hucks a knife, murders this guy.